Hello and welcome to Down to Earth with Dee. Joining me in conversation today is another remarkable human being, someone I've had the opportunity to connect with thanks to the United Nations Environment Program, who have through the unique opportunities they create, given people from across the planet to connect, to engage, to collaborate, to make a difference. And the person I'm talking about is none other than Adrian Grenier. He's an actor, producer, director, musician, environmentalist, and he's someone I met when we were campaigning to beat plastic pollution in 2018 with the United Nations Environment Program. And then we met again last year at New York during the Champions of Earth Gala. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation with him. Hello.
Hey, hello.
Good morning.
Good, very good morning. Yes. Hello, is it a good evening to you?
It's almost good night.
Oh, no. Thanks for staying up, waiting for me to wake up.
I had to. We had to have this conversation. I want to start with saying thank you for making the time, Adrian. It means a lot.
No, anything for you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you could join us. And I'm sure everyone who's watching us live right now is extremely excited. Of course, everybody knows you as Vince, and everybody knows you from Devil Wears Prada. And
Mm.
India has been going crazy. I've been getting messages through the day saying, we can't believe you're going to be in conversation with Adrian. And I was like, I can't wait for you to discover how much more he is than just the actor that you know him for being. And I really want people to discover the human being that you are, the work that you've been doing, and everything that you're discovering along the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good night.
Okay, Adrian, I want to start with, thinking back to the time that we met last year at the Champions of Earth Gala in New York.
Yeah.
And, a conversation we had about having to collaborate and connect so that we can further the work of advocacy we're doing and make a difference. We couldn't have imagined in that momentous, inspiring, beautiful evening that we were a part of, with such amazing people from across the planet celebrating their work and their achievements, that in such a short time we would all be locked down at home and dealing with this pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe most of us, but there were some people sounding the alarms pretty early on. And I guess sometimes we got to hit rock bottom in order to wake up. So certainly, you and I in that moment didn't have our eyes on it specifically. But I think this is just another example of how we need to really, before we have to hit rock bottom, we need to start looking forward into the future and recognizing all the things that we have to address before they become a pandemic, a plastic-demic, if you will, a climate change-demic. I mean, there are a lot of pandemics that have different timelines. Corona obviously is immediate. It's here. It happened seemingly all of a sudden, but that's not true. That was something that was in the works for a long time with how we treat animals and our relationship to the earth generally. So, yeah, we were addressing something else at the moment. We were celebrating people who have been doing amazing things, and that was appropriate at the time. But I think it's now is an opportunity for us to become more self-aware and more sensitive, more empathic, and take the cues from from nature and from the world, and make new choices and be reborn after this great pause.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think there are a lot of people who are recognizing this, because every time we have these conversations, I see a lot of people commenting, in the comment section, and then of course commenting on the posts, talking about how they're discovering much of what we are. And that's, I think, very important, because we're in this together. And it's this pause has given every one of us the opportunity to reflect and think about our relationship with each other and with our planet.
Absolutely.
Adrian, I want to actually ask you something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. When did you have this? Did you have an aha moment, like a moment where you felt like you wanted to use your celebrity, your voice, your artistry, to impact change? When was it? Did it happen in an instant? Did you experience something? Did you see something? Or was it innate to you? Were you always like this?
I'm in a single moment of my personal evolution, and every day I become, I think, hopefully, more self-aware, and have more tools and more ability to be a better human being. I wouldn't say it was like one single moment. I've had many incarnations, many iterations of just trying to be a citizen of the planet. I've done a lot of things when I was younger that were more radical and aggressive, as young people can be, and I think it serves its role. And then I've gone to places of more apathy and so much hurt and pain that I had to shut down, turn off. And then I've come back to center, and I found sort of maybe more practical and tempered ways to approach such big problems. So being a storyteller, I've definitely tapped into that and have utilized my platform to communicate. But I always say that it's not because I'm an actor or because I have some visibility that I do the work I'm doing. I think the real impetus, the real drive for me is my work as just one person, one single unit of society, a citizen of this world. And I think that's the most important. A lot of times you have people who have a big platform and they're talking, telling you what to do. The solution is not what's in one person's mind. I don't care how many people follow them. The solutions are as varied and as diverse as there are humans on this planet. We need almost 8 billion solutions. We need everybody on the planet to come and give their love and their wisdom and their commitment to making the world as we see it can be. So, it's important to have to speak when you have an opportunity, and if you're speaking to 1 or 1,000 people, great. But at the end of the day, if no one was listening, I'd still be doing this.
Oh, absolutely. I think I would say the same, because so much of what I've learned and discovered along the way has helped me make better choices. And when I am able to make some choices, or I discover something that has changed me or moved me or helped me become a better person or a better citizen of the planet, I'm happy to share that with people. And I get the sense that you do the same.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, look, my nonprofit is called Lonely Whale.
Yeah.
And check us out. But our hero mascot is a whale who swims in solitude all alone out in the ocean. And he speaks another language than other whales. So he's been calling out his whole life, without ever receiving a response from another of his species. And so he, the lessons that he teaches is, is that of connection, but also, he has been calling out, looking to be heard, and guess what? Finally, we humans can hear him because we have ability to have empathy for this whale, and whales are the keeper of wisdom. And what he's saying to us is, he's saying, look at what you're doing. Look at what I have to face every day. Plastic pollution, 10 million tons every year dumped into the ocean. Ocean noise pollution, sound that's cluttering up the ocean so that I can't speak, I can't be heard. Acidification, et cetera, et cetera. So, if the lonely whale can be all alone, calling out, waiting to be heard, I think it's sort of a metaphor for many of us who need to be heard and want to be heard. And I would just say, have patience, and let's open up the ears of our hearts, and let's really hear what people are saying and what people are calling out for change. And so that's the lesson I learn is, what am I not hearing? What am I ignoring? How can I become more aware of the voices that are seemingly gone unheard?
I first heard about the lonely whale when we were working on the Beat Plastic Pollution campaign. And I remember I was talking about how regular sanitary napkins are made mostly of plastics, and talking about giving up regular sanitary napkins and using biodegradable ones, and talking about the menstrual cup. I remember you talking about the plastic straw and highlighting the fact that, in a single item of plastic that we use unthinkingly just for a few minutes ends up being in the environment for 300, 400 years. Actually, it never goes anywhere. It just breaks down. I think we've made good headway, decent headway in building awareness on plastic pollution. Of course, there's a lot more work to be done, but we have managed to make some difference. Adrian, now with the pandemic, there is a new surge of plastic pollution that has emerged, right? People are using disposable masks, disposable gloves made of plastic. And yes, this is a crisis, and yes, we need protection. But how, and I saw some people asking this question, how do you believe we will be able to overcome this new ocean polluter, this added plastic to our environment?
Yeah. Well, when we introduced the Stop Sucking campaign against single-use plastic straws, this was our attempt to break down the behemoth issue of 10 million tons of plastic going into the ocean into a single unit of measure, something accessible, something that we could actually grasp. They say, one death is a tragedy, 1,000 deaths is a statistic. And one of the issues is the issue environmentally is so big that it's hard for us, it becomes abstract, it's hard for us to get our heads around. So we wanted to break it down into something that everybody could relate to, and everybody can take action on. It's actionable. And then we can also measure our success, measure how well we're doing. And right now we're on target to have eliminated 20 billion plastic straws from the waste stream. 20 billion. Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
A drop in the bucket. The 20 billion is but a single unit, a straw unto itself. So of course we still have a lot more to do, so much more to go. But what I really look at it is, we want to somehow find the solution outside of ourselves. And I think we really just have to come down to looking at our own relationship to ourselves and to nature. We as humans both fear nature and want to control it, and think somehow arrogantly that we have dominion over it, that we can pour enough concrete, that we can exploit enough resources to satisfy our needs. And that's just not true. It's becoming more and more apparent that the more separated we become from nature, the more we see it as a threat to our, everyday well-being, and the more we try and actually, become more powerful than it, we will, of course, lose in every instance. So, in my mind, it's a spiritual solution. We need to become more connected to nature. We need to recognize that we can't endlessly exploit it. And if we don't really, truly become that balanced part of nature, then I think we're going to continue to see these issues. So I believe the solution is as simple as just readjusting that relationship we have to ourselves and nature, and living a lifestyle that reflects that, so that we just can't make the same choices, because it's just not who we are. It's just not what we are. I think change starts first just with yourself. Are you consuming mindlessly and just without care, or are you afraid of these viruses, or are you afraid of the way we treat animals? What's the root of this virus? It didn't just come from nowhere. It came from the way we treat wildlife, and that's the initial cruelty. The virus isn't cruel. Virus is indifferent to us. We were the cruel ones to nature, and then nature has a way of finding balance, and we were out of balance. So here we are.
Yeah. So one of the solutions that I discovered while talking to a doctor yesterday was that we can use reusable, washable masks. So we don't have to use the one-time single-use masks. And actually wearing gloves is not the solution, because it makes you it just makes you a little more irresponsible about sanitation. So you'd rather keep washing your hands and keep your hands away from your face than wearing masks is not the solution. And I thought that more and more people need to discover this, because there is such a strong fear psychosis that is controlling a lot of people, that people think that by just wearing, by using and throwing, they're actually protecting themselves, when in fact we're not.
Right. Disposable.
Yeah. I want to ask you about something very interesting that you've been doing, and there's a philosophy behind it which I want to share with everyone who's joined us. The Ducontro Ventures, which is an impact venture fund that you've started, and the objective of the venture fund is to question everything for a better world and invest in mindful founders committed to utopian thinking and the envisaging of the world as it should be. What should the future be like, Adrian? What in your mind is that future?
Yeah, well, we have to, it's almost as if we have to fix the boat as we're sailing. There's a lot of things within society that are preconditioned and established. Systemically, we have a lot of work to do. So I'm really looking for businesses, founders who are going to disrupt that status quo and really make an offering to us citizens who are trying to make those changes and trying to readjust our relationship to ourselves and nature. So, for example, Just Foods is providing a plant-based alternative to eggs, and so as someone who's distinctly stepping into veganism, it's great to have that option. When I go to the supermarket, I don't have to, I can make a replacement. Another company is Blue Land, and instead of shipping around a bunch of plastic bottles filled with cleaning agent within the supply chain to stores, and then you go to the store and you take the plastic and then you throw the plastic away and then it ends up in the ocean, this cycle. They're shipping little tablets, little caplets, compressed.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Little caplets that they send you, which is like, I think, I don't know it's like instead of shipping all the water, which is mostly water, and then some solution, and then in plastic, they're just sending the solution, which you then add water to, and now you have your cleaning agent. And you can continue to reuse a glass jar or a glass dispenser, which they provide as well. But then it becomes a subscription model, so now you're only shipping a little tiny amount of stuff as opposed to a big amount. And it's less expensive, and it comes to your door. It's more convenient. So those are the kinds of businesses that we're looking at. And by the way, if anybody out there has a business, or if there's
I saw a
one
few
that
people mentioning some.
Oh, good. Send them our way, please. Yeah.
I will. I'm sure they'll send it to me, or they'll probably send it to you, because it's really interesting. You mentioned what you have. You keep using business as unusual in your hashtags, which is something that I find very interesting, because when we build back from this pandemic, we need to build back better, and we're talking about building back better in a more sustainable way, just understanding our relationship with nature, as we've spoken. And what do you mean when you say business as unusual?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk about getting back to business as usual, and getting back to normal. And I think it's an unfortunate way of thinking, because it basically eliminates all of the learning that we're doing in this time, or hopefully doing. So there's a lot of things that we have an opportunity to reevaluate in our lifestyle, and the way we do business, the way we interact with each other and ourselves and the world. And so we don't have to, but this is a great opportunity. I don't like to, one of my favorite podcasts, they were talking about, it's called On the Media, and they were talking about how we need to stop using this metaphor of war for this pandemic, for the virus. The virus doesn't have a side. It doesn't take sides. It doesn't have an allegiance to anything. We can't shoot it. I think we don't want to fight it. In fact, maybe the more appropriate metaphor is, this is an education for us. This is a learning. We are learning how to live with this virus, because it's not going anywhere. We're learning how to bolster our immune systems, become stronger, healthier, adapt and adjust our way of life so that we can better protect ourselves. So this is a great learning, and it goes beyond just how we interact with each other and with regards to the virus. But it also is, again, how we treat animals. It's, are we able to sit with ourselves for an extended amount of time and bolster that relationship we have with ourselves in our solitude? Or are we always having to go out and interact and consume to try and avoid the loneliness, anxiety? So there's a lot of different lessons that I think are coming up right now in this time. And if we can integrate them, if we can embrace these lessons, I think society has a great opportunity to evolve and grow beyond the way it's been. Business as unusual.
Okay, I could go on speaking with you for a long time, but I don't want to keep you any longer. I just want you to end this with one last answer. And I hope we can keep meeting like this and talking with each other, because I learn so much from you each time I connect with you. Well, the last time we spoke, I was telling you about how many of us are dealing with environmental anxiety. There's we see what is happening around us and the kind of destruction and devastation it's causing, the way it's impacting lives and causing distress in people's lives. And as somebody who's living in a developing country, I'm witnessing that every day, and many of us are. And in fact, a lot of people who've joined us, young people I follow as well, have been asking this question. So I hope you'll answer it, because I know it's something that you've dealt with. How do you deal with that anxiety? How do
Mm.
you, how have you found the balance again and been able to continue on the path that you're on without feeling overwhelmed and anxious about what's happening?
Well, well, first of all, take a moment and take a breath. Take a deep breath. All of us, come on. Don't be afraid to take a moment. We don't have to fill the space the whole time. Um, yeah, I hear you. I feel you. You know, I've had it myself, and it's why at times I've had to shut down and become apathetic because it was too overwhelming. But that's not what we want. We don't want you to become overwhelmed and break down or shut down. We need your presence. We need your effort, a lifelong of effort. So give yourself a break. You don't have to take the weight of the world on your personal shoulders. Um, Anxiety is about expectation and the difference between what you expect and what is. Um, so, so do what you can to let go of those expectations. There's a certain almost arrogance, and not to be, disparaging or disrespectful, but there's an arrogance to a lot of environmentalists who think they know the way the world's supposed to be, and they're holding on to this vision of the world. We don't know. We don't know. All we can do is be in relation to what is. And nature is doing a lot of it beyond our control. And that's what I was saying before, is we have this idea of what nature should be and what it should look like. And then we want to force everybody to do that. And oh my God, it's like, look at it. It's not what I think it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Let go of that. Be present with what is, and really, just move into, be able to sit with the uncertainty. And if you can, look into the great expanse and not know, and just sit with that and allow yourself to breathe and feel safe in that, then I believe we can start moving forward with I think a greater sense of confidence, as opposed to feeling anxious because we're not sure of what the next step is. We don't know. We don't know. And anybody that says that they know probably hasn't taken a moment to breathe.
I, well, the power of the breath is incredible. It always resets my balance. It helps me. And I'm so glad you've spoken about this and just taking a pause. And thank you once again, Adrian, for being who you are,
Well, thank
for
you.
for
And thank
caring
you.
as deeply as you do, and for the difference that you make. And I feel so good knowing that, we're one family. We live
Yeah,
far away from each
we
other,
do.
but we're all one family.
Yes,
And
well,
it
thank
strengthens me, and I'm sure it'll strengthen many people who've joined us today and who will watch this later.
You're my sister, and all of you out there, my sisters, my brothers, and thanks for having me. I love you.
We love you too. Be well.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. There's always something new to learn. For each and every one of you who've joined us, big thank you. Continue watching Down to Earth with Dee leading up to World Environment Day 2020. There's going to be many wonderful people offering insight and solutions on how we can coexist with nature and build back better and live for nature and be in harmony with each other. Lots of love. Have a good night.